Welcome to Vital Tutorials. In this video, I'll show you how to configure EDS and item testing from the settings dialog. First, let's start with EDS. Go to Settings and click on Edit button. Scroll down to EDS Options group. You'll find three options for EDS testing: List Points, Points Naming, and Autoplay Navigation Time. The first option, List Points, sets the default points position in the test. It can be right, left, or both. For example, if you set it to left, click on Save and Close. Start a new test. You'll notice the location values for all the points is set to left. If you want, you can change the location of the points in the test from this drop-down. Back to Settings. The second option, Points Naming, specifies whether you want to use the full name or short name for the points in EDS. If you change the value to full name, then in a new test, you'll notice all points have full names. You can see the short name and full name by hovering the mouse over the point. The last option in the EDS group is the Autoplay Navigation Time. This time is for the automation to move between points. For example, if you set the value to 1500 milliseconds and start a new test, then Vital will count 1.5 seconds before moving to the next point after each reading. Back to Settings dialog. Scroll down in the Settings dialog to Test Type group. In this group you will find only one configuration, full or short. If you set it to full, then the default test type will be full and the system will use the full points set. And if you set it short, the system will use the short points set in a new test by default. You can check the type of the test from the information panel here, or from the tests grid from outside the test. Above the EDS Options group, there is the Default Lists group. In this group you can set the default list of points for each test type. For example, if the default test type was full, and you set the points full to foot points, then after starting a new test, the default list of points will be foot points. You can also change the list of points at any time, from the Points Set drop-down. The second option, Points Short, is to set the default list of points when the default test type is short. Second, Item Testing Configurations. In the Settings dialog, scroll down to Item Testing Options group. The first option is the Default Test Protocol, which specifies the default protocol used in a new test. It also affects the starting items from which you find the major issues. For example, if you change it to Top 10 and started a new test, you will notice the starting items in item testing have changed to Top 10 list instead of the items in Protocol 1. The second option in Item Testing Options group is the Autoplay Navigation Time, which controls the time to take an action in item testing. For example, if it was set to 3 seconds and you took a non-50 reading in item testing, then Vital will wait for 3 seconds before making a switch action. The next option in the item testing group is the number of Vital Force items per group. This option set the default number of Vital Forces per group. For example, if the value was 3, then once the Vital Force dialog opens, 3 Vital Forces will be highlighted by default. You can also change the number of Vital Forces per group from here. The next two options in Item Testing group is the Default Testing Fee and Default Testing Tax, in which you can specify the default testing fee and tax that appear in patient schedule. For example, if you set the fee to $200 and the tax to 10%, then in a new test, if you go to patient schedule, you'll see these values are filled by default. The next option in Item Testing group is Clear Selection on No Reading, which tells Vital whether to clear selection on an item if it gets a non-50 reading. For example, if you set it to Yes, then if you select an item in item testing and took a non-50 reading, then Vital will clear your selection. The next option in item testing group is Auto Open Product Dosages, which tells Vital to auto-open product dosing dialog after adding a product in item testing. To see this, set the value to yes, go and add a product in item testing. You'll notice that Vital will open dosing dialog automatically. The next option in item testing group is 4 factors with full name. This one tells Vital to use the full name for points in 4 factors dialog. If it is set to yes, then you'll notice the points name and 4 factors dialog appear in full name. The last 2 options in item testing group are Auto Close Dialog and Auto Close Dialog Time. The first tells Vital whether to auto close dialogs or not, and the second sets the time to close the dialog in case the auto close dialog was set to yes. To see this, set the auto close dialogs to yes, and the time to 1500 millisecond. Go to item testing and open 4 factors for one of the test results. After taking all readings, Vital will close the dialog after 1.5 seconds. Thank you for watching this tutorial.